you everyone for joining me today. My name is Nichel Anderson. I'm the host of my podcast show, Nichel Anderson Short Stories and Beyond. Thank you so much for tuning in for this week where during my summer break, this is summertime in the United States, where I decided to release bi-weekly podcasts, short podcast episodes where I'm either talking about the previous year or previous episode, or I'm talking about the future plans of my podcast or anything that I feel that will enlighten you and continue your interest to follow this particular podcast where I definitely enjoy writing. I love short stories, long stories, what have you. I love writing. That's my passion and my purpose. So last week, just to give you a quick recap, I had an open dialogue about my podcast the previous year and talked about season 2. And I also introduced a new short story where I was the Harlem Renaissance columnist at Suite 101. The story is entitled Mahogany, and it was part 1 last week to introduce you to some characters, and this week it would be part 2, okay, being released on July 23rd, this Monday, to be able to recapture that moment when I wrote it. It got a lot of good traction, I remember. I'm actually looking at a printout where I printed it back in 2001. And like I said, I released it on a weekly basis, similar to this podcast. Isn't that coincidence? Your purpose always outline the blueprint, which I'm kind of highlighting something else from my other podcast show that I do. But it always give you a blueprint in what's to come in the future. If you make the right choices, it leads you to where you're destined to be. So at any rate, let's go ahead and start this week for Mahogany Part 2, a new short story that, of course, if you've been following me and you know I do also theatrical productions, I produced a movie called Dawn of New Day. It was on the cusp before the Harlem Renaissance took over. It mostly focused on that particular movie, W.E.B. Du Bois, one of my mentors, and Booker T. Washington. That movie was before the Harlem Renaissance time, but this particular aspect of it gives you that beginning steps to that, how intellectuality of that, or a new word I just created, and culture kind of came together from different ethnic groups, different generations to aspire. It was like the Renaissance, of course. So it was on the cusp of before that actually came to fruition. So Mahogany, besides my Dawn of New Day movie that was focused on that particular time, is after that point, and it's where it's taken a new type turn and more people are in this new awareness of culture. So let's go ahead and get started with Mahogany. So thank you again for joining me today for my podcast bonus 4 for summer break 2018. Let's get started for my podcast show, Nichel Anderson Short Stories and Beyond, for this new short story entitled Mahogany, Part 2. We will talk, Jules. I have to meet with these men first. Jules let out a disappointed sigh. All right, Daddy, just don't forget. He touched her cheek before walking past her as the two men followed. Bertha was staring at her daughter. Jules, did I not say for you not to get your heart solely on it? But Mama, this is what I want and need in my life right now. Next year will be more pleasing to your father than now. Have you thought about that? Jules was about to plead her case when all of a sudden Tony Banders, a close friend of her father's, but the same age of Jules, came rushing in, knocking over stacks of crates near the entranceway. Where is Mr. Sands? I need to catch him. You know where? Calm down, child. Yes, ma'am. His breathing still hard. Tony unbuttoned his shirt to relieve some tension his eyes expressed, in which exposing his childhood scar near his throat. Tony explained it was from a childhood injury when his father lived down south, but the rumor was a possible lynching attempt, and some how he escaped. Out of respect, none of his friends pried into knowing the truth. His deep brown hair was cut close to his nape that somehow didn't overshadow his brownish red skin tone, which was like fall leaves of afar. Bertha called out to Bobby in the washerroom to get her husband as Tony began to pace back and forth. The kitchen phone rang. Jules went to answer it, and as she placed her hand on the receiver, within seconds, Tony placed his hand over hers. "Tony, let go of me. What is the matter with Miss Jules?" "Now you don't want to do that. Trust me, you don't." Tony's eyes pierced into hers, making Jules' hand begin to slightly tremble. "Darling," her mother said calmly as she held a cloth in her hand to restrain her nervousness of feeling that Tony was right. "Darling, do as he says," Bertha urged as she laid down the towel she was holding. Tony slowly loosened his grip as he felt Jules release her clutch hand on the phone. The two women stood there, staring intently into Tony's eyes. He held their stare with the same sternness as he looked at both one at a time, as the phone continued to ring. End scene. That concludes my part 2 of Mahogany. I have decided that I will come back to this story. It will not be in the summer months where I'm on summer break, because I have other things that I wish to roll out as I prepare for my return for season 2. But at least you got a taste of Mahogany. If you like it, share it. If you like it, tweet about it. If you like it, tell somebody about it. And if you like it, follow the podcast, of course, and support it that way. And that will give me more reinforcement that here in this year of 2018 and beyond, people do like my story, Mahogany, taking my own account of a very influential time that even influenced me when I got into the Harlem Renaissance and led me to really discover W.B. Du Bois and Booker T. Washington, even though that was really W. Du Bois' little baby there, and expanded on, but other type of artists from different works of life, and it really influenced me. So hopefully this influenced you. Hopefully you can look at it as part of history, not as anything else, but a way to creatively bring this time, this moment of time in history to the forefront and get you interested in it, or at least interested in the characters that I just introduced, to find out what happened next. Who was actually calling Mahogany? Why did Tony wanted them not to pick up the phone? Will Jules talk to her father about what she wanted to do? And what exactly was that? What was so major and important that her mother seemed to know about and they hadn't told the father yet? So hopefully that kind of perked your interest. That's my job as a writer, right? To get you thinking. I do plan perhaps to bring this story back. I'm just not sure when. Of course, I know that I will be focusing on MOLIAE because I'm still in the process of bringing that back to stage. MOLIAE, which stands for Moments of Love in Ancient Egypt. That's the production that really set off my writing before I even became a columnist, talking about the Harlem Renaissance and learning about that aspect of history. So I do plan to perhaps, so you can know what's going to happen next from that scene of Mahogany, and I will definitely announce that. It will probably be sometime in season 2, and it probably will be perhaps 2 episodes that I will focus on and then take a step back. My whole podcast is pretty much geared towards releasing short stories, and I have other short stories that I want to roll out besides MOLIAE, but MOLIAE is the big one, of course. If you like it, let me know that you do, and of course I would definitely consider making more of those episodes of Mahogany, perhaps a series like I did when I did the character profiles, which I am going to do that again, but maybe do Mahogany just more than just 2 parts, maybe make it more than like maybe a month or maybe 2 months of focusing on Mahogany. I'm kind of playing with it, but if you like it, please go ahead and follow it and follow me as well on Twitter or my fan page on Facebook. Thank you so much for taking the time to reach out and to tune in this week. And my next episode, my bonus clip, will be on August the 6th. Yeah, I think that's the date here, that Monday, which is 2 weeks from now. So hopefully that you could be able to tune into that, like it, and share it with someone. Thank you. I hope you're having a great summer. So long.